Welcome back to another Fridays in the Field brought to you by FNBO, the great big small bank. And we are circled back around to near Henderson, Nebraska this week, catching up here again with Matt Hiebner. And Matt, things look a lot different since the last time we talked. The corn is pollinated. Harvest really isn't that far off. I mean, it's kind of the light at the end of the tunnel at this point. Just give us an update on what you've been up to. Awful busy since the last time we chatted, the beginning of July.
Yeah, lots going on, or a lot has gone on, I guess. Most of our corn is completely done pollinating. The earlier planted stuff is moving into the dough stage here now. So really progressing along quickly. Looking at, harvest, hopefully start something the 15th of September or so. I think since last time we talked, all of our fields ended up getting fungicide. There's a lot of southern rust being spotted in the area and starting to move in, so we kind of jumped on the fungicide early to try and slow that and prohibit that from popping up in our fields. A few of our fields are white corn that's non-GMO. We went ahead and threw in some insecticide in there. We had some rootworm beetles popping up and some Japanese beetles and things like that. But overall, in our area, we're looking really good. We got some really nice rains over the last 3 weeks. Haven't irrigated much. Most people are firing pretty much everything up again this week. And yeah, we're starting to taper off on our irrigation needs around here, I would say.
You mentioned that harvest in, the middle of September really is not that far off, about a month away, and it seems maybe a little bit early. So talk about which crops you'll start into first and where you'll go from there.
Yeah, so we planted all corn this year. So our plan is to get into some of our shorter season corn earlier and then dry it down and haul that to town right away, so we can kind of hopefully capture some of the, seems to be some better to-town marketing opportunities early on for corn. At least that's what we've seen. So hopefully start picking corn at 26, 27 moisture and then run it through the dryer and then haul it off to town right away is kind of the game plan here.
So you talked about southern rust and some other issues you saw popping up in your fields. Treated that right away. Do you think you'll have any yield impacts from that?
I think we caught most of the disease pressure early enough that it shouldn't affect us. It's all on several leaves below the ear leaf at this point, and so as long as that fungicide holds over the next month, I think that shouldn't cause us any yield loss. One thing we were a little bit concerned about is we had a number of cloudy days here this last weekend and really cool. I mean, we were mid 70s for probably a week here, and so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think we're still better than last year because we got a lot more sun with that cool weather. But yeah, we always heat is a good thing this time of year.
Absolutely, and starting to feel even a little bit like fall for sure. We've been talking a lot, and I've been referring to it, you corrected me today, and I'm glad you did. We've been referring to it as relay cropping, and we just had this conversation ahead of time earlier. It won't be relay cropping, it's intercropping because your beans are very tall, your corn is too. Talk us through what that looks like as you head towards harvest, what you're going to do with your beans, and how that all works.
Yep. So I've been taking tissue samples the last couple weeks and kind of monitoring the nitrogen levels, and we're going to throw a little bit more nitrogen out there just to carry us into the end of the year. One thing that has been interesting, I'm not sure how true it'll stay when I get the results back this week, but we have seen a little bit higher nitrogen levels in the corn where the beans are planted between the rows versus where there's just corn out there. So it'll be kind of interesting to see if that translates to any yield benefits or nitrogen savings in the future. So right now that corn is pollinated and the beans are still green and tall. Was out there the other day with my spade, and it's almost a 4-foot spade, and the beans you could stretch them up to that point. The beans do have quite a few pods on them, but we're not planning on harvesting them at all. We'll just go in and harvest corn. Most of the beans will get run down in that process, and then plan to come back and BT it a couple times this fall and then just plant straight into it in the spring. So hopefully just, add some, just help build up the soil and, I'm not sure where we're going with this, but hopefully we learn something. That's what the goal is.
Absolutely. So. Always good to try new things for sure. You'll find out this coming spring. As we talk about the weather, you mentioned those timely rains. Those have been great. And pollination as well. As you go out, pull some ears. Have you seen, has stuff pollinated pretty well?
Yeah, we haven't, just this week we went out and very few ears seem to have much tip back. There are some clipping of the silks now by some beetles and just different insects out there, but we think that pollination went really well, and by and large our ears that we've pulled have filled out really well this year.
All right, well, the next time we talk with Matt, we might be catching up with him on the Combine. It's Matt Hiebner near Henderson, Nebraska for this week's Fridays in the Field, brought to you by FNBO, the Great Big Small Bank.